Nothing back yet.
She read it, so I'm assuming I will get a response. She's responding now.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Board of Select Persons meeting for Tuesday, April 15th. It's that glorious tax day of the year. Today is in person and hybrid Zoom. Anybody that's on, got a busy agenda tonight. Recognition of visitors, Friday is not on the agenda. Under tonight, that time of the month, for manager report, financials, and our department reports. Under new business, we have Dan Lay here from HM Payson. We have a wheel loader RFP, attorney information, Spirit of America award, fuel bid results, the bond letter, RSU cost sharing discussion, transfer station bid results, and then we'll be approving the warrant that will be for our June 10th elections, we'll have payables and any other business. So the board willing, I'd like to, just because I think it will be relatively quick, I'd like to do our wheeler loader RFP first.
We have to do the pledge first.
Oh, I'm sorry, pledge, yes.
Wheeler.
And she's on her way. She forgot.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So that means we would move down to page 49 in our packet. And that's our wheeler loader RFP.
Yeah, so the time has come to replace the loader at the Public Works Department. We've had that loader for, I think it's a better part of 20 years now. It's a 15-year replacement. We have as you'll see in the RFP, there is a long list of specifications that we want. We want those specifications. We want to buy this loader from a dealer that's going to have a OEM support system in place now. So 15 years down the track, and this is really a 30-year machine, because once it's done working for Adam, it's going to go up to the transfer station, which is where this one will go. We don't need a long turnaround time for this RFP, because Adam's already done the due diligence to check out various models. He's test driven at least one, and I recommend the select board approve the RFP.
I'll entertain a motion and then.
I move that we put out the RFP for the wheel loader bid.
Second.
Thank you.
We do have the money in our fund for,
We have the money in there. We'll see what the bid comes in at, but we should be pretty good.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
With a vote of 4-0, you have approved the wheeler loader RFP to be sent out as presented.
Thanks for coming in, Adam.
Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
And I'd like to move on to Mr. Dan Lay and HM Payson update. Dan?
Thank you very much. Good to see everyone.
Good to see you too.
Too long?
You'll notice we don't have microphones, it's actually out of the ceiling.
Oh, okay.
So,
And you are being recorded.
Oh, very nice. Okay. I'll be careful about what I say then.
So I don't know if you have met John prior to.
John,
No.
I can't remember if you were here, but you said I wasn't here last year. Someone
I'm
else came.
thinking it's somebody else.
Yeah,
Need your-
who's the guy that used to be above you?
It used to be above me.
I can't remember.
So Pete Robbins is the CEO,
I think it might have been Pete.
and Noah Petrucci works with me as well.
I think it was Pete.
But Pete came last year? Wow. That's a rare sighting for Pete to get out of the office, so. But yeah, so John and Mary Ann, I think the first time I've met both of you, so good to see you. Had a relationship with the town for a long time. Mostly libraries, a couple of libraries and a scholarship fund. So, yeah, it's been a great relationship. We've had a lot of fun over the years, so good to see familiar faces again too. So I'll do a Zoom from time to time if folks want to. I mean, I'm happy to appear more frequently in front of the group, but it's good to get here and just see people face to face once in a while, so. We'll start right with page 1. Consolidated holdings for the 3 accounts. See the Jane Ricker Trust, the A.B. Ricker Memorial Library, and then of course the Scholarship Fund. So together they totaled, as of 3/31, 3.1 million, just over 3.1 million. Obviously the Jane Ricker Trust being the largest of that group. We'll move on to page 2, and this will show you the allocation as of 3/31. So equities versus fixed income and cash equivalents. So about 65-35 equities to cash and fixed. We keep all the fixed income very short. It's really only for spending purposes, and we like to keep 3 to 5 years of spending set aside so that the equity volatility, I don't know if anyone's noticed the market's been volatile recently, but it's exactly for this reason. People get nervous when the markets move so drastically. So we make sure that the clients have really a good 5 years of spending set aside, and so the equity volatility can happen in the background and won't keep people awake at night. The cash in the portfolios, it's a small number, but the cash are money market funds, just so you know. So money market funds right now are a little north of 4%. And again, the fixed income is very short. We keep it 2 years and under from a duration standpoint. So page 3, we'll jump right into the returns. I was going to have a 2024 return, but my assistant put a previous 1-year return, 3/31 through 3/31, so we'll just go with that. Year over year, so 3/31/24 through 3/31/25. Go all the way down to the bottom of the page. You can see the portfolio was up just under 5% versus 7% for the benchmark. That gap in part has come from actually international markets over the last 3 months have started to perform, and we don't have any international exposure. That's not really going to change. I don't see a lot of value on the international side of things. I know we've had extreme volatility and a real decline in the first 3 months of the year, but again, it's very short term, so I don't really pay attention that much to the short term machinations. So if you look a little further out, jump right to the 5-year number. These are annualized numbers, just so you know. So the 5-year number is 12.2% versus 10.5% annualized. So again, the portfolio at 12.2% is outperforming our benchmark at 10.5%. Same with the 10-year number down the bottom. Again, 873, call it 875 versus 730 annualized for the last 10 years. And then since inception, so we're coming up on 13 years now, which is amazing to me, but 9.34% annualized versus 7.75 for the benchmark. So again, longer term numbers are all solidly ahead of the benchmark, even if we've had a little bit of short-term volatility. Now the performance or the percentage numbers are nice to have, but we want to know what that means in real dollars. So if you go to page 4. So this is where we started back in 2012, in the bottom right-hand corner. So we've got the graph to illustrate it, but you started out with, down at the bottom, you can see just over $1 million, $1.034 million. This is, again, the Jane Ricker Trust. We've distributed $682,000 over that period of time. We've got investment gains of $1.6 million, $1.6808 million. That gets us to the 1.96 million number. So again, now this is just a function of making sure that we've got kind of critical exposure to equities, because those are our growth assets. This is a perpetual fund, so this is something that we expect will continue in perpetuity. So there was a time, I can't remember, Stan, you probably remember, when this trust was changed over to a unit trust. So we pay a 4% annualized dividend to the town to run the trust.
That wasn't your time, Matt. No, Matt wasn't here.
At least 5 years ago, maybe more.
Oh, it was,
That's been at 6, right? 6 years.
Yeah,
I
no,
got
it
a
was-
feeling it might be 8 or 10.
yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
really?
say,
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
probably about 8 years ago that
Oh,
the
wow,
court
okay.
said this is what you can draw out of it and do.
Okay.
To have that fixed number like you say, and, yeah, I mean, it's, obviously, it's great. I mean, the town gets more money, you know, just because the balance is growing, right? Even at the 4%, there's more money to
Right.
be distributed in true dollars.
Right.
If I could interject one thing, just so 3 members are aware of, that's not 4% of the value, and I don't know what date we use, December 31st or whatever it is. It's not 4% of that value. It's a 3-year rolling average. So you go
Yeah.
back, so we're gonna be in 25, so it's the value December 31st, 25, 24, 23, average that out. So that works for, as Dan was saying, now the market is down and you don't know what it's gonna be up and down. So all of a sudden in 1 year, when you had a super year like last year, we would have been taking out more money if we just did it based on that 1 year.
Yeah.
Whereas depending what happens with this year, you may end up taking out less, so this gives you that average, so.
It's a lot
we don't
easier
get
to budget with the rolling average. It smooths out the number, so you're not gonna have big swings if you take a snapshot in time, so. But, yeah,
Excuse me, that's also what we're doing for the other trust.
Yeah.
yes,
Not to like-
yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure what the draw is on the scholarship trust.
I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, what it was is that they had the monies, but prior to your investment, they had, you know, I'm gonna say $100,000 in there or whatever, now it's 400,000 or whatever. They had that amount of money in there and they would just just decide, you know what, we've got these many people, let's just give this couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand there, or whatever. Now they've settled in on doing and met with you, I think, 3 years ago,
Right.
to actually settle in on a steady percentage of whatever that is in the same fashion like Stan just
Right.
provided, so that there's actually more money going out there and maybe if there's more people that apply, it can be spread and given scholarships to more people.
Yeah, it's nice to have seen the growth, obviously, so we've had a little bit of a tailwind at our back. Hopefully that'll, even after a few bumps in the road, will continue. So page 5, A.B. Ricker Library account. You can see that's just under 750,000. A little bit higher allocation to equities here, of almost 77%, again, versus cash and fixed income. So basically 77-23. You go to page 6, those return numbers pretty similar. 1 year returns 522, 3 years 670, 690. Again, these are annualized numbers. 5 year returns 1390 versus 10.5, 9.5 for 10 years annualized versus 730. And then since 2012, 10% return annualized versus 773. So again, solid performance across the board there. And chart has a little bit more. You can see the chart on page 7 is a little bit different than the Jane Ricker Trust. This is a function of the fact that you're going to feel the volatility more in an account like this because you have a higher allocation of equities, another 10-12%. So, but and this is the equity market, right? So, you know, this is why we stay invested, right? It's human nature to get excited about, you know, market fluctuations like this, and it's really important to keep that critical exposure to equity. So you can see here, as Steve pointed out, well, we started out with 216,000 back in 2012. We've taken out 142,000 over that period, and tripled the money in the account, 674,000 in gains, so we're at 750,000. So, but again, it doesn't come without periods of indigestion from time to time. So But eventually, you see that red line, either on the paper or on the screen, whatever you're looking at, that red line will eventually go below zero. So you'll have spent all the money that was contributed to the account, and you're gonna be living off the earnings. So this is why it's important to, there's some great data out there on, when people are thinking about volatility in the market and the temptation to jump in and out. It's really a fool's errand. It's almost impossible to do. And over any number of periods of time, you can run the data. And the most difficult aspect of getting out of the market is getting back in. And if you don't participate in like the best days that the market has, you'll underperform by enormous amounts. Like you can't even keep up with inflation. Unless you're able to somehow magically pick those best days in the market. So for instance, recently we saw some 1,000-point down days, maybe even a 2,000-point down day. And a lot of people would panic, right, and get out of the market and wait on the sideline, but they don't get back in. And and then shortly after, now we're almost back to where we were at the beginning of March. I mean, we're still down a little bit from the beginning of March, or at least the market is. But if you had gotten out, you would have missed a 2,000-point up day and a 1,000-point up day. And it's just, that's why you have to try and swallow hard and ride through these periods of extreme volatility. But one of the ways to do that is, for instance, whatever the spending needs are for whether it's A.B. Ricker or the scholarship fund or the Jane Ricker Trust. Again, if you've got 5 years of spending, and you don't have to worry about where that money's coming from, so you're not selling into a distressed equity market, at any given point in time, then again, you can let that volatility happen in the background. It sounds maybe easier than it is in actual practice as we go through these periods, but keeping that core equity exposure is what gives you this line ascending. That's why you've been able to triple your money in the scholarship fund.
It's also low risk too.
What's that?
It's also low risk. You're not in a high risk market really, if you think about it.
High risk in terms of
Investment. Yeah.
Right.
Because you're also going to keep, that interest is going to stay pretty steady.
Right, the stocks we buy too are quality stocks. So the volatility index, with the VIX ratio they call it, that's another thing that we follow pretty closely. And I did some buying earlier in the week, maybe it was a week ago, Monday or Tuesday. And the volatility index had been low for a very long time, which is a sign of extreme complacency. So that's just for purposes of example, it was like in the 15 to 20 range. The VIX, the volatility index, spiked from 20 to 60 over the course of 3 days. And so, it's hard. You got to swallow hard, but if you've got some cash available, then you're going to want to buy into that, as hard as it is, because all the best returns in the equity markets come when the volatility index exceeds 30. Now, you can't pick the bottom, but so you kind of leg your way into it, but you got to be, so it's a little tactical, but it's, again, you're seeking to hit this 75% equity target or whatever the growth profile you need is to make sure you're meeting your annual spending need, whatever inflation is, plus some real growth on top of that. That's how you manage the perpetual funds. So.
There's a good portfolio going on right here.
Yeah, the scholarship looks great. Or the memorial, the library. Let's see. I tell you, just a quick kind of primer on how we manage funds, just a good characteristics page. This is just an example, we don't have to go over every one, but page 8. So these are the characteristics that matter to us most when we look at individual companies and the portfolios generally. But we follow a V ratio approach, and if you look in the top right-hand corner, that gives you the definition of our V ratio. So it's return on capital plus a dividend yield over the PE multiple, or what the valuation looks like for the company at any given point in time. And if you run over here to the left-hand side, it gives you the characteristic summary of the portfolio against the S&P 500, just using that as a proxy. So we're a little more expensive in this portfolio. You can see 22 times versus 21 for the S&P. Dividend yield is slightly lower because, again, this is a growthier portfolio. Payout ratio is lower, and that's good, that's what you want. That just means the percentage of profits that the company pays out in dividends. So, you know, you don't want necessarily an extreme low number. We like to see a growing dividend stream. So you've got all kinds of room here between 22 and 100 to grow the dividends, right, over time. And you look at telecom companies or some of the REITs, they pay out almost 100% of their profits in dividends. And that's really not what you want, because when the economy hits a rough patch, they'll either suspend the dividend or they won't grow the dividend. And you want to make sure the dividends are growing over time, because that income stream will also increase the valuation of the stocks in the portfolio. The return on invested capital number is probably the best indicator, or what's most important to us. You can see it's almost 12 against the S&P of 8.7. That's a massive difference. So we invest in companies that not only earn their cost of capital, but they compound it over time. And when they do that, they not only initiate dividends, but they grow their dividends. And these portfolio companies also have a lower debt to capital ratio, so they don't have to borrow a lot in order to operate. So they fund their operations out of cash flow. So you can see our V ratio at 0.57 for the portfolio versus 0.47 for the S&P. The real takeaway here is that the S&P is still pretty expensive. And our portfolio is relatively as expensive as I've seen it over time. But, you know, at the end of the day, with the markets at these levels, it's pretty tough to find anything over and above that level. So I'll take the 57 over the 47, but again, these valuation characteristics are important to us. Jump to page 10, just to give you a sense of what our top 10 holdings are. You can see we have Apple at the top, Microsoft, Berkshire, Amazon. None of these you're really going to be surprised by. Meta, which is Facebook, Alphabet, which is Google, Nvidia, Broadcom, L3 Harris, which is a defense contractor, and then ASML Holdings. Now, I just want to show you a couple characteristics here. If you go over to weight yield path, see the 5-year dividend growth column on page 10? You go down to the top 10 stocks. So the annualized dividend growth for these top 10 stocks is almost 13% a year. So they're growing their dividends on an annualized basis of nearly 13%. You go down below, you see the S&P, which is, using it as a proxy for the broader market, is 5.5, so less than half that. So what that tells you is that, as the dividend growth in the portfolio is really exceptionally strong, and that's gonna bleed through into appreciation into the equities over time as well. So, and you can also see the ROIC, 3 more columns over on top 10 is 15.3 versus 8.7 for the S&P. So even higher, obviously, than the total stock portfolio. So really strong characteristics. Those top 10 account for about 70% of the equity valuations in the portfolio.
I like how it's stable.
With that?
It's stable.
Yep.
Yep. S&P is like the weather.
Finally, the scholarship fund on page 11. So similar allocation to the A.B. Ricker account. We manage this a little bit differently. We use some ETFs and the total return fund, the Payson total return fund in this, because it's a smaller account. It's at 400,000, it's harder to get the diversification you need. So I can't buy 20, 25 different stocks in a $400,000 portfolio. So we have our 40 Act fund, our mutual fund, that has many of the same stocks that I have in the other portfolios, but it's a much cheaper way to get the exposure that we need. So it's a little bit, so the returns are a little bit different, but not drastically so. Year over year, the number's not great, 2.1% versus a benchmark of 7, so we missed on that one. But you can see the 3, 5, and 3-year returns, 5-year returns in 2016 are all quite a bit better, obviously, than the benchmark. So 3-year at a 685 versus a 6, 5-year annualized returns are 4 percentage points better than the benchmark, 1466 versus 10.5. And then since 2016, 10.4 versus 8.29. So the longer term numbers are good, even if the 1-year return is not stellar by any stretch. Page 13, again, this shows you, and this is less than 10 years, obviously, but we started out with 214,000 back in 2016. We've taken out 48,000 over that time period, and we've got investment gains of 255,000. So we've more than doubled the original capital investment, and that gets us to the 421, 819. And you can see, you know, you're ticking down every year with the red line here because that's the draw every year. So, but again, you know, you're going to end up living off the earnings of this. Of course, the scholarship fund may also have contributions at some point, further contributions from folks over the years. But again, good equity exposure. Consequently, you know, we like to see that big blue mountain growing. That's about it. Characteristics are the same. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just want to give you the highlights.
Yeah.
It's great.
Any questions about the market generally, or how the portfolios are allocated, or?
What does your crystal ball tell you over the next few months?
It should be a little rough.
Is it a little foggy?
You know, I've seen honestly, the bond market, it's gonna depend a lot on the bond market. Volatility in the bond market has actually, is much greater than the volatility in the equity market. I mean, we've seen the US Treasuries move in increments of, 1/100% here and there. And we saw the US Treasury, the 10-year, over the course of a week go from under 4%, maybe I think it was a 390, to 4.4, 4. That's a huge move over the course of a week. A huge move over the course of a year. The 2-year has gone from 5% down to sub 4%. I think the Fed's probably going to cut in May. That's my personal thought. So it'll probably be wrong, but I think the economy's. I still think we're by far the strongest economy in the world.
Yep.
But again, if you provide real live competition for stocks in the form of higher interest rates, that's gonna be tough for the stock market. But again, the European economies, I don't see those as a place I want to park my money. We haven't been exposed to China for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I don't see any reason why we'd want to invest in China at this point either. There's too much uncertainty. I mean, a lot of this seems self-inflicted at this point, but it's a very, very complicated question with regard to the tariffs and the economy. And we've got this problem, this trade deficit problem that's been decades in the making,
Yep.
that I think everyone who's paying attention understands it needs to be fixed. I think we're just having arguments over what methodology is best to fix it.
Right.
And, you have a headache, but you don't want to take the whole bottle of aspirin, right, to solve the headache. So there's got to be a balance there somewhere. And right now, I think we're kind of struggling to find that middle ground. So, and there's so many competing interests. But at the end of the day, if you ask me if the equity markets are going to be higher 5 years from now, 100%. And I think they're going to be higher by the end of the year. I think we'll end up on a positive note. But, human beings are, we've had 2 back-to-back really strong years in the market, but it was only 2022. So in 2022, the S&P was down 20%. And we don't really remember that.
Right.
Because we've had the last 2 years to kind of gloss over that. It's like kids, they'll learn about a stove, but they forget most lessons, right? You gotta take a longer view. Again, equity markets are long-dated assets to deal with long-dated liabilities. And bonds are short-dated assets to deal with spending needs that we know about right now and what we know about over the next few years. So as long as you build out a portfolio with the high-quality holdings and keep the fixed income aspect of the portfolio in a good spot, then Yeah, you're gonna see growth,
Awesome.
not in a straight line. Trees don't grow to the sky, right?
Thank you.
Any
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
comments?
thanks for coming up, Dan.
No, it's
Good to
great,
see you
great
again.
Yeah, it was
to,
great,
great
yeah.
to see everyone, and again, happy to appear more frequently, and we can do once in a while over Zoom, but I love the, I don't wanna say I love the drive, but I don't mind coming over. It's just good to see everybody. I
Thank you
hate
so
to
much.
lose track of
Good to-
people's faces and,
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks a
Great to
lot,
see you.
appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming up.
Appreciate the steady hand.
Yeah, that was
of
great.
course, thank-
I'll go back and look at your 5 computers.
All right, I guess we can go back.
Take care.
Take care,
Good
Dan.
night, safe travels. Go back to page 2 on the manager's report.
Okay, manager report for 15 April for the library. I've applied for congressionally directed spending funding from both Senators Collins and King. I requested $1.25 million this time to account for inflation and allow for paving the parking lot and parking lot lighting. I'm hopeful to have a better update on where that stands at the next meeting. At the AvCog General Assembly, reps from Collins, King, and Golden's offices will be there. They're gonna talk about that specific issue. But you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so we'll see what happens there. The town office generator, all electrical and propane runs are complete. We're awaiting operational tests, which will occur later this week. Fuel accounting program, Public Works completed an update to our fuel accounting program. This is when you get out of the gas pumps, put a card in, and put fuel in a truck or a bus or whatever it is. And initial reports are it's leaps and bounds over what we had, so that's a great thing. Main waste to energy, I met with member communities, we approved the budget, we set the new municipal solid waste rate to take effect on 1 July at $54 a ton, which is an increase of $6 a ton from what we budgeted. That is about a $10,000 difference. We did that because we need to generate more revenue. The budget accounts for shutting the plant down, doing some maintenance and repair, and then starting it back up, but there's no room for error. So what we don't want to do is get in a position where we don't have any money in the bank to account for something that comes up that's unexpected. We had an executive committee meeting beforehand, and I was advocating for double that, a $12 increase to 60. But when we got to the general board, there were a number of communities that said they've already set their budget, they could not do it. And I completely understand that, so when we took the vote, I voted for the $6 increase. But what we're looking at is another significant increase the following year to try to increase the revenue. We can't increase revenue on other people that go there because we've hit the limit of the market there. If we did it anymore, there's a very strong possibility they would go to another facility because we're right up there. But even so, at $54 a ton, we're still getting the best deal ever. These other folks are paying, I think it's between $80 and $90 a ton. We're going to be paying $54. So we're getting that benefit because we are a part owner. I was asked to provide a municipal park update. That's actually going well. Our grant funding is in place. It's a 50% match. The match is coming from some cash and donated materials and labor. An upcoming thing is we're going to go for a site plan review and hopefully approval with the planning board this time next week on the 22nd. We want to show them the location of various structures, stage, play area, etc., and lay out the lighting plan. Once we get site approval from the planning board, then we can start looking at doing actual work in the park. Various plant components we constructed depending on availability of materials and donor labor. Public Works will help, we'll see how much they're able to do, but there's still one man down on that very small 6-man crew. So we'll just have to see what they can do. The first item to be constructed will likely be the botanical garden That's going to go along the stone wall near the recreation garage. We're thinking that's going to be the first one. Why? Because it's an easy thing to do. We want to get that going. But Scott and I and Adam had some really good discussions this past week, and we're all excited about where we're going here. We just need to get through planning board, and I'm now go find them. They have some additional questions or something, and if we have to go back, we do. But they've been really supportive of the whole project. What Scott said he would like to do is come a little later after we get through the planning board and we are about to start, and give a more comprehensive update, because by that time I think we're going to know we're either working on that botanical garden or we're not, or what the next thing is, so that people can understand it, and we'll be able to show perhaps a graphic that'll let people see where things are going. And for folks that are going to be volunteering, whether it's labor or materials, Scott, if he hasn't reached out to them yet, he will shortly. It's a long list of folks, and they're very generous and helpful, but that's an exciting project that we'll see moving this summer. And pending any questions, that's the manager report.
I know that last CEDC meeting, they brought in the Poland Garden Club.
Okay.
Are there any collaborations happening with them with this?
I believe Scott has talked to them specifically about the botanical garden. There's another Poland resident who has offered help for different types of plantings that we might put in other locations, not just in the park, but around the library. There's a lot of interest there, but we have, I know Scott has, I haven't had a chance to meet these great folks yet, but Scott has sat down and talked with them, and we're hopeful to do that. But that's a great thing, to get more people involved. It's supposed to be a community thing, and I think it's going to be a pretty exciting project.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Let's move on to financials on page 3.
Okay, well, we're 80.77% through the year. Doesn't seem possible, but we are. On revenue, we're doing fine there. Motor vehicle excise is at 84, so that's always one that I look at. And I'm just going to brief off the expense report this time, because we're in great shape throughout. We're just slightly above the glide slope at 81.83% total, but that's driven by a couple things like the payment to the RSU, our payment to law enforcement, those big ticket items. Everything else is moving along well, and I don't see any issues. And pending any questions, that's a financial report.
I entertain a motion. Accept the financials.
Make a motion that we accept the financial reports as presented.
Second?
Any other questions or comments?
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Elby.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have accepted the financial reports as presented.
So beginning on page 31 is our department reports. Any comments or questions there?
No, I think if you read the clerk's report, they've got a lot going on, not just with the election coming up, with some new license plates that are going to be issued out, which sounds mundane, but it's a big job for them to do. And recreation, as another highlight, has some good things to report there with various programs and other things that are on offer.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, then we can move down to page 54, which is the attorney information.
So Jensen Baird, our current law firm, is ending their municipal law practice effective May 5th. The attorney handling issues for the town will be joining another law firm, Drummond Woodson, located in Portland. As of that date, will continue to practice in municipal law there. Jensen Baird currently charges $225 an hour. Drummond Woodson base rate is $250. Another firm that practices municipal law in the Portland area charges a base rate of $325. Given that our attorney at Jensen Barrett is capable of handling a number of long-standing legal issues, the rate at Drummond Woodsum is only slightly higher than what we're paying now, and the desire to ensure continuity in our legal representation, directing Jensen Baird to transfer our legal files and records to Drummond Woodsum, and that our attorney be tasked to continue to represent the town. I put an excerpt of the financial policy here. We don't have to go out for competitive bidding for this case because it's a contract for professional services. I think it's in the best interest of the town to keep our current attorney engaged in a number of legal efforts. This does not mean that at some point in the future we can't make a change if we're not happy with what they're doing. But what we're seeing, Jensen Baird's municipal law practice is going away. The number of law firms that are doing this are dwindling in number. So I think we'll see how these folks at Drummond Woodsum do, and we're very happy with the attorney, Ben McCall from Jensen Baird. He's been fantastic, and we look forward to working with him again, continuing to work with him. Pardon me.
I would say we're quite lucky that we're able to retain him. It'd be
Yeah.
kind of costly to transition to a new.
It would take someone, it's not impossible, but a number of these issues have been going on a long time, so you gotta read from the beginning.
Like
And
starting from scratch.
yeah, so, you wanna take the Spirit of America, Nikki?
Oh, sure. So the Spirit of America Award, I'm gonna read it off from his because I don't have that page in my packet. The Poland Spirit of America Foundation Award, chosen annually by the Board of Select Persons, is presented to a local nonprofit organization or individual that persistently displays outstanding community service and volunteerism to the citizens of Poland. We need to choose the recipient of this year's award. With the help of several town employees, we have come up with a list of nonprofit groups here in Poland. You can also add one if you can think of any. We may have forgotten. When choosing, please nominate by number. So in front of you, you have 3 that were chosen. The town has not made a recommendation. We think all 3 are very good choices. And so we just ask if you nominate one of them, that you do it by the number listed in front of them.
So you can see for the last 10 years who the recipients have been. And so I will look for a motion to at least begin, and we can ultimately take more than one motion and then have discussions around it.
Make a motion that we recommend choice number 1.
Okay, anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
Any other motions want to be made?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept number 3.
Anybody second that?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other? Hearing none, then how would you, discussion on the 2 nominated, 1 and 3, and what people's, without getting too specific?
That's hard.
So,
What's the-
so if you don't mind, so obviously I'm partial to that because I have snowmobile trails and hiking trails that go through my property, or around my property, and it's been 19 years. They do an amazing job. They do a great job, not only maintaining the trails, but also making sure that the rules are followed as well. No ATVs, stuff like that, and no one's gotten hurt on the trails as far as I know. So that's true enough.
I'd say that number 1 is something that brings people into town from outside our area. And I know a lot of people visit this organization's facilities.
Okay, so you can vote for 1 or 3, so I'm gonna take a show of hands for choice number 1.
I'll abstain.
Okay, so 3 for choice 1, 1 abstain. And for choice number 3, we have the 1 vote. So we will do choice number 1 will be our winner this year. They will be notified by us with a letter and ask them to come to a meeting where we will present them with a certificate and stuff like that. And then we also let the Spirit of America Foundation know, and then they present them at a level higher up also.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to page 56, fuel bids.
So we opened fuel bids, Nikki, myself, and the finance director were there. We had 2 types of fuel, propane and heating oil. For propane, we had Dead River coming in at a little over $2.30 a gallon, Superior Plus 177.2, Sail Energy at 178.12. Our recommendation is to award the bid to Superior Plus as they are the lowest bidder. Heating fuel, Dead River was $251.13, Superior Plus at $3 a gallon, Sail Energy at $2.75.89. Recommendations to award the heating fuel bid to Dead River, who was the lowest bidder. Based on what we have used over the last year, that'll be a total savings of about $25,000. So that's a good deal, total between the propane and heating fuel.
We can do it in one motion.
I think we could.
Okay, anybody want to make it?
Make a motion, we accept Senior Plus for propane in the amount of $1.772 per gallon. And Dead River for number 2 heating fuel at $2.5113 per gallon.
And I'm just gonna amend that motion, so instead of Seniors Plus, I'm gonna ask it to be Superior
Oh, so Superior
Plus.
Plus, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And can we
Well, I
have
don't know, I think the seniors should get the money. They could use a lot of that.
can I have a second, please?
Second,
I
second.
didn't even know I said it.
I didn't even say it.
Good.
I did
Okay.
pick up on it.
My mouth just opened and the brain didn't.
You're okay.
So they'll have to change out on the propane?
Nope, it's the same company we're using now, and that was
Oh.
a factor in selecting them because the others were gonna charge us to swap tanks. So that was a savings there.
Okay, I didn't realize that's what we're using.
All right, John DeSantis,
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Alby.
Yes.
With a vote of 5 to 0, you have approved the propane bid going to Superior Plus in the amount of $1.772 per gallon. And the number 2 heating fuel to Dead River in the amount of $2.5113 per gallon.
I'm sorry, who did we use for heating fuel before? Was it to Dead River as well?
No, down East Denver.
Yeah.
Which didn't even bid.
Pardon me?
Which didn't even bid.
They did, they're under Superior Plus, it's part of their,
Oh,
it's part of their network.
yeah, they keep changing names all the time.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, great. Next item is our bond letter.
Okay, so this is a letter that I would ask the board to sign. What it does is it allows the library project to expend money in anticipation of getting the bond this fall. Now, that is, at this point, not likely, but it preserves the opportunity to move forward over the summer if we're able to figure out how to do this. We've got another meeting this Thursday between the architect, contractor, and the town, and we'll see where things stand, but I think that the larger message on the library project is that I still think it's a worthwhile project. I don't want to give up yet, and in order to preserve any opportunity to move forward this summer, we need authorization that's contained in this letter here. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, And before we did anything, there'd be an approval process with the select board. So it's not like we're just gonna be spending money willy-nilly. But this would allow us to take some action if we saw a way forward to do so.
So this isn't obligating us to actually get the bond?
No.
Okay.
We'll apply for the bond if it's appropriate for the fall bond sale.
So Matt, so you want us to preemptively sign this as a just in case? So,
Yeah,
can we sign this anytime? So let's say you find out you get the bond money and then we sign it, or?
no,
it's
this is just to spend money that we would get in the bond before we get the money.
Yeah.
Because if we're gonna do anything this summer, this allows us to do that and then reimburse the fund balance with the bond
So
money
this is
that
for,
comes in.
this is budgeting purposes?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we've already been approved for the bond,
right.
and our approval is good for a year. So this is in case, because now we can't actually get the money to the fall if we still want it, and this is if we find a way forward
Oh,
halfway through
okay.
the summer, we can start spending that money
Mhm.
and reimburse it. Otherwise, we cannot reimburse the bond unless we have this signed.
Okay, so this is kind of like a an insurance policy?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Kind of the ante. To stay in the game.
Yeah,
So we need a motion.
Yes.
To accept it, yep.
I make a motion that we, how should it be worded?
To sign
To sign the bond acceptance letter? Is that correct?
To motion to sign the issue of the $850,000 principal amount of general obligation bonds that's been drafted by our attorney.
Thank you.
That's
See,
the title.
he used
So
the right
moved.
words as opposed to senior. I would have stuck a senior in there.
yeah. this is
Yeah.
your moment.
it.
Oh, we
Your
good?
second, please.
Yeah, second.
Any other discussion?
John DeSantis,
Yes.
Stan Tetman,
Yes.
Steve Robinson,
Yes.
Marianne Hawks,
Yes.
Lisa Elby.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have approved signing, authorizing the issue of $850,000 principal amount of general obligation bonds.
Okay, the next item is on page 62. It is the RSU cost-sharing discussion. So in the previous board meetings, in the previous one that we had on the first, I said that we had agreed to what it is, that we would move forward, but we just needed the language. That's now complete. And it's displayed here on page 62. So what the agreement is by the cost-sharing formula committee that will be voted on by the residents of Poland, Mechanic Falls, and Minot on January 10th. There'll be an article, yes and no article, pretty much. June 10th, I'm sorry, thank you. That if this is adopted, and I personally hope that it is, it will change our percent of local share for the budget items that we actually share. So of the, I want to be accurate as I can be, that roughly the 20, what is their total budget? Been
21 million,
$21 million roughly their budget. This, that we cost share with the other two towns in the RSU 16 totals about $4.1 million. So, and we have been sharing that to a 90% based upon evaluation of the towns, and then 10% on the pupil count. And this proposal is to change, nothing will change this next year, that we'll vote on in June for budgets. But in the next year, it would be in 85-15, in the following year, it would be in 80-20. So it does make the pupil counts be a little bit more of a factor. In practical terms of dollars, against this last year's budget, we're talking about $75,000 shifting from Poland to the other two communities. and the details are there. So it's not big dollars, but I think it sends at least a first step, and we'll see how it proceeds from there, because things can change. But I think it sends a message of the three towns saying, this is our RSU, we're gonna step up and be more a part of it. And I hope that that's part of the message that's sent with that. So that's my personal opinion, and like I say, nothing's going to change in this next year's budget for 25-26, but it would change 26-27 by 5%, and then again another 5% the following year.
And then after that, per that, the cost-sharing contract agreement, it has to be revisited every 3 years, I
Yep.
believe. So by the time we're down to the 80-20, it's time for it to be revisited again. And then whoever makes up that committee, they can decide to continue moving it or not.
So the board, the RSU board, excuse me, just said, yes, let's go form this committee and do this. They have not looked at it in the past, so it's been a number of years.
Yes.
I can't quote how many years, but greater than probably 6
It's
years.
been since 2016.
2000, so it's been 9 years since this was ever looked at. So I do think that there is an understanding at the board currently.
An expectation.
And an expectation that they're gonna follow what they're supposed to follow when they created the RSU, of looking at this every 3 years.
Two questions. This is the best we can get?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, we really had some meaningful discussions about what the impact to our neighboring towns would be if we went lower. And it would be really the burden on the people of Mechanic Falls of Mine, especially Mechanic Falls, might not be something that they could bear. So we felt that by easing into it, it might be better than just kind of hitting them all at once with a huge, huge burden.
Thank you. The other thing you mentioned about reviewing this 3 years from now,
Yep.
4 years from now. I know that's written into the original
Yep.
charter is the right word.
Yes,
And it wasn't done.
correct.
Could that statement be put in this and that would be there and it would kind of force the issue? 'Cause I don't know if this is an appropriate place
I don't,
to
There
do
was,
it.
there was some discussion around that, but it was felt that the language is already there. And, if we recall this time, we decided as a board to write the RSU a letter saying we had this expectation that we would go do this. It actually is in the language that any town can actually petition the board to go execute this at any point in time and year. So it's felt like that the mechanisms are there. And ultimately, I would agree, the RSU board needs to, follow the agreement and have that done. But if they don't, any town can go and petition that to happen.
and I do want to put out there that, obviously Steve and I are very aware of that, and we feel very deeply that the people of Poland are our first priority. But we are part of a community when it comes to the RSU, and that weighed very heavily on us.
Yeah, so certainly Mechanic Falls, that 75,000 out there, you'll see by the charts, and this will be something that's up there and people can read and do. Mechanic Falls is 53,000 difference. If you get down to the whole thing or whatever, there was a lot of discussion about mill rates and all this other stuff. The reality is that the real dollars really demonstrates, the actual impact. And like we say, it's a subtle one, but it's one that, Poland's, in the data was out there to say that Poland's, the number of students into the RSU from Poland has actually been declining. And the number of students from Minot has been relatively flat, as I characterize it, and the number of students from Mechanic Falls has been increasing, but overall, the number of students in the whole RSU has been declining, and I would say over the last 10 years, if I'm accurate, it's probably been declining about 9% over the last 10 years, so Poland basically has been declining at, greater than, volume number. We are 46% of the students, and we currently, it's a 90-10, and it'll go to an 80-20. So, Poland is always gonna be even if this was at 100% student count, we would still pay 46% of this 4.1 million. So the number could change, populations of the towns can change, the number that's now 4.1 of the budget that we're currently in for the school department, that number is going to change, right, over time. So these actual dollars of savings will not be the dollars of savings by the time we get there, right? It'll be that percent 80-20
Right.
split when we get there. The valuations of the towns will change, number of students will change, so.
Actually, based on birth rates in Poland right now, our student count is going to continue to drop over the next few years, unless, we get an influx of folks, but.
So a couple points, Lisa made a good one, whoever's, right, 3 years from now, whoever is gonna be. And Stan made a good point, the verbiage, and then you said it's an understanding, so I would like to have that verbiage not be an understanding, but an actual. That it gets revisited in 3 years, not, it's an understanding that it will. Did I misinterpret what you were saying?
No,
Does the verbiage say that it,
but based on what they said and how this came about, it would be up to the board in 3 years here, that if they're not revisiting it, up goes another letter.
okay.
Or
okay, so that-
or the other two towns could.
Oh, the other two towns
Yeah,
could
okay.
do the same.
So that's
Yes.
clear, okay.
So what can happen too, and this has happened in the past, is that the school board looked at it and said, well, we don't think that it would make, it would be cost effective, cost effective to do the whole exercise all over again, or that it would make much difference financially to do the whole exercise, and that has happened in the past. So, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Jim's-
I do have I have the paperwork on it, of all the accounting that they've done lately, if you guys do want to look at it.
So go ahead and introduce yourself and.
Jackson Harden. I got this recently, just from the board of the RSU, but this is what they've been laying out, just in their recent meetings. But this just lays it out exactly what all the numbers are breaking down into.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something you guys wanna look at, but.
Yeah. So like I said, I guess my only final input is that I think the citizens of Poland need to show up on June 10th and vote their opinion. And like the school budget, it will be, one vote for a Mechanic Falls resident, one vote for a Minot resident, and one vote for a Poland resident. So just like the budget will occur in June for the overall school budget for the next year, this article will act in the same way to how it votes yeses and nos
So
of
in other words,
adoption.
it's not a weighted vote.
So it's not a weighted vote. So if residents want to see some sort of change, you gotta go show up at the ballot booth and vote it up as being affirmative to make a change as presented, so. Any other comments or questions?
I believe the RSU district meeting is May 20th. So that's an opportunity to vote
Yeah.
on each article.
For their budget. Well, the budget.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
I've seen some people asking about that or whatever. I did notice that there's going to be a session of presentation or whatever at the community school
On April 30th.
on April 30th.
And it's definitely a question,
At
comment.
PCS. So it's a place to ask and do, but the May 20th is the district-wide meeting. And whatever gets adopted on that May 20th is what gets voted on June 10th. So like when we had in-person town meetings, each article is brought up there, and each article can be amended. It can only be amended smaller, it can never be amended larger. And it's the number of people that show up there, and it's, you know, a total count of hands, doesn't matter what community or town anybody's from. Whatever gets agreed upon there is what moves forward for June 10th. So the real place to make any impact on the school budget, not talking about the cost sharing formula, is on May 20th. You know, certainly the yes/no has its impacts, and as we've seen last year, it got rejected a couple of times before adopted. But if there are individual areas within the school budget that people feel that should be adjusted or adopted, that's the time to go vote. And I have to say that I've been to most of them through the years, and that the attendance across the 3 towns is dismal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's typically sometimes as many board of directors of the RSU there, and employees and some other administrative staff and whatever that are there voting that outnumber any of the combined 3 towns, so
And
it'll
I'll
be
just-
good if they show.
I did share the information, the link on our community, polling community page, so it takes you right to the RSU 16, so you can get right to where all the budget documents are, so that you can see the information that you're voting on. The budget does include a reduction of 8 teachers in the RSU this year.
In part because of
Among other
student
things.
count. And the like, right?
Just, yeah.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we can move on to the page 63, which is our transfer bid results.
So the bids for the transfer station renovation and expansion project were opened on Friday, April 11th. Here in the conference room, 4 bids were received. One from Benchmark for $639,625, Sheridan $483,000, Ganniston $591,600, and J. Pratt for $430,777. Each one of these bids has a varying amount for an add delete, which will be for a retaining wall that'll be that we may add, pardon me, to better support the roadway that we're going to have to modify. I've talked to our engineering firm this morning, and we recommend the board select J. Pratt Construction at $430,777. Even with their add delete, they'd go up to $443,000 below the next bid. We have left in our grant $550,000, which leaves us $100,000 left to finish paying whatever engineering fees there are, buy and install culverts, which Public Works is going to do, and do some paving work. And we'll just have to see how, we'll pave as much as we can, but recommend selecting J. Pratt Construction for the transfer station bid.
Entertain a motion?
Yep. I say we make a motion to accept the bid for the transfer station for J. Pratt Construction, Inc. for $430,777.
Wait a second.
Marion?
Question, I think I asked it last time or at some other point, and I forget what the answer is. We have that money in hand?
That's a reimbursable grant, but the EPA has told me that the money is available, so we can move forward.
John DeSantis,
Yes.
Stan Tettenman,
Yes.
Steve Robinson,
Yes.
Marianne Hawks,
Yes.
Lisa Elby.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have awarded the bid for the transfer station renovation and expansion project to J. Pratt Construction, Inc. in the amount of $430,777.
Very good. So now we get down to
Lucky you guys.
approved warrant articles beginning on page 77, so, just to set it up, Nikki will kind of guide us through each of these articles. We will, especially the first articles, they're part of the legislative articles, and when we get to those, we'll take those one at a time. We'll get a motion to put onto the warrant. So our authority for the legislative articles is to simply put on the warrant or not put on the warrant. All of our motions need to be in the affirmative to put it on the warrant and seconded, and then we vote and it's either up or down going on the warrant based upon our vote. We'll do that. When we get down to the town ones, maybe we can combine a few if the board so desires and not do 22 individual motions.
Correct.
But I think against the legislative articles, and the other point I'll make is that for the legislative articles, we're voting to put it on the warrant or not put it on the warrant by the vote. The motion is to put it on. We do not make any recommendations tied to those. When we get to the budgetary items and those things within the town, we will actually vote to put them on the warrant, and we'll vote to with recommendation or not with recommendation. Okay? So,
All right, so Article 1 and 2, I need a motion to choose a moderator to preside over it and to elect by secret ballot 2 select persons, 1 RSU director, and 1 budget committee member by secret ballot. Do I have a motion to place these 2 on the warrant?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
any
John
discussion?
DeSantis, sorry. Any
Hearing none?
discussion? Okay, John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, you have approved putting Article 1 and 2 as presented in the draft on the warrant. We're going into legislative articles. I need a motion to put Article 3 as written on the warrant, on the ballot.
Oh, doesn't have to be read.
Nope. Do I have,
So moved.
do I have a second? I need a second to put this article on the
Second.
ballot. Okay.
Discussion.
John DeSantis,
Yes.
Stan Tettenman,
Yes.
Steve Robinson,
Yes.
Marion Hawks,
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, you have approved putting Article 3 on the warrant. Article 4, do I have a motion to put Article 4 as written on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Too slow with that hand, Stan. Any discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have put it, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You have put Article 4 as presented on the warrant.
Put it to senior. Is that-
I know, the seniors ran off on me. Article 5, do I have a motion to place Article 5 on the warrant as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have placed Article 5 on the warrant. Do I have a motion to place Article 6 as written on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Any discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote of 5-0, you have approved putting Article 6 on the warrant. Article 7, do I have a motion to put on the warrant as presented?
So moved.
Oh, that was a close one. I'm gonna call it John and I'm gonna call it
I'll
Mary Ann. Any discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, you have placed Article 7 on the warrant. Article 8, do I have a motion to place this on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
He slowed up for you that time. Any discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tettenman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, you have approved putting Article 8 on the draft warrant on the warrant. Article 9, do I have a motion to put Article 9 on the warrant
So
as
moved.
presented?
So moved.
A second.
I'm getting right in
Discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
there. Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Elby.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, you have placed Article 9 as written and presented on the warrant. Article 10, do I have a motion to place it on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This is the solar one, right?
This is the
This
one
is the
regarding
solar.
the solar to 4 acres.
I'm opposed for it's limiting it to 4 acres. I understand some of the issues with it that have been discussed, but that, I don't feel we should be limiting to 4 acres.
And we had heard that this was sort of a last minute, and I think a lot of us had concerns that maybe it needs to be revisited and more thought out. If there's gonna be some controls placed around solar, more limits, controls on solar, it needs more thought out.
The planning board met all deadlines to
Yeah.
place this on the warrant. They sent out the appropriate notices for public hearing. No one has shown up to the planning board public hearing to speak against this. We haven't had anybody come in the 2 public hearings we've held here speaking against this. Given that, my recommendation would be to let voters decide which way to go on this. There's no reason it can't be amended the following year.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if it could be amended.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of reached out to a couple of the different groups when we met with a couple of our committees in the town, including the Conservation Commission. I was interested in those. I would say that in general, the Conservation Commission didn't like the idea of large solar farms instead of other things. They didn't care for that. But at the end of the day, they felt, so they were somewhat in support of this article. But as a whole, that's just the vibe and the discussion that occurred. But they, kind of agreed that they felt that, the view of it was more of their concern than necessarily how it could be and how it could do. There was a lot of other discussions that are ancillary of the whole solar program within the state, but that's not what this article is, so. I said I would pass that information on. I certainly invited the CEDC members and the people to come here tonight and voice an opinion if they so had one, so.
Oh, well, we were on the same page that, so this is how the wording's gonna be?
Yes.
All right, well, it could be amended, Matt, right?
Yeah, anything can be amended
Yeah.
in the land use code, and there's, maybe there would be, maybe there wouldn't be, but the other thing is, the planning board's doing their job.
Right.
They came up with this, and it was at the very end of the process to put things, make amendments to the land use code, but, they're good people, they're trying to do the best they can. They held the public hearings, there wasn't people coming up and providing comment to that. I know I've spoken with the code enforcement officer and Nikki and a bunch of people in the office, because there were some questions about how this was going. But if voters approve this, it doesn't mean it's the end of the road on this particular issue. It can be amended next year.
Yeah.
With, there's a number of things that could be done. It could be repealed, amended, whatever.
The point was that if they own the property, and we agree we don't want it to be an eyesore, but if they own the property, it's not gonna be an eyesore to limit them to only 4 acres on their own land. Again, this could be more intricate than what it really is, so that was our only precaution, was to say, hey, I don't think this is gonna be a big thing, but you never know, so I would like it, if we can amend it to put that as a safeguard in there, as just in case. Because if I remember correctly, that's what we came up with.
Yep, we can't amend the language.
No, I understand that, but we can amend if it becomes an issue or something down the road.
And then
Yeah,
the
yeah.
voters
No, I
just vote
understand
again.
that. Yeah, I understand.
Whether they want it amended or not.
Yeah, I was just letting everybody know when we discussed this, those were the reasonings. I don't think it's a big deal, but as a precautionary measure down the road. Okay.
For me personally, I'm torn on this.
Yeah.
Because I know that it can be amended, next year and adopted and changed. At the same time, it can be amended next year and not have the article on there and leave things the way they exactly are. I'm not aware of any projects that are
No.
currently in the pipeline. So, I don't think it necessarily affects anybody or affects anything to not have it be something that's there, so I'm torn.
Yeah.
I think that as a town, I would recommend that there be a better process of things and feedback and getting some stuff, enforcing the feedback and beyond just the things and collaboration with this board in the future or whatever, and trying to come up with something that, maybe you have, different zones within the town or whatever the case may be to what you can or can't do
Yeah.
in the situations or whatever, or put buffer things in, requirements, all those types of things that might be more satisfactory to a greater percent of the town.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I just think if we put it on, it can be changed. If we don't put it on, it can be changed. So that's kind of torn.
Yep, no, I agree.
And I share a lot of the similar views, I think that the Conservation Committee and the Planning Board feels, and that, do we have an appetite to want big giant solar farms in here? I mean, I know there's the environmental impact to consider, but,
Yeah,
Yeah.
whether it's twofold, right? We all agree, we don't wanna see 26 or 122, but this is strictly personal property, so.
Is there a bug over there that y'all keep
it's
trying
like
to
a
catch?
fuzzy.
I thought she was mocking me being Italian. I was like, what the?
So we're gonna go ahead and take
Hey.
a vote. Remember, this is an affirmative action, so if you vote yes, you are recommending that it be placed on the warrant. If you vote no, you are recommended that it not be placed on the warrant. Okay? John DeSantis,
Yes.
Stan Tetman,
No.
Steve Robinson,
Yes.
Marion Hawks,
yes.
Lisa Albee.
No.
With a vote of 3-0, it will be placed on the warrant as Article 10 as presented.
32.
3-2, right?
Yeah, you
He
said.
said
Oh,
3-0.
Sorry, 3-2.
Senior
I know
moment.
Stan did not say senior.
And for anyone listening, just read up on it, make your own decision here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, it's just, I'm torn between the things, so.
All right, moving on to the municipal articles. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna like go home now. Article 11, do I have a motion to put that on the warrant as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Lisa won that one. John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have approved putting it on the warrant. I need a recommendation to recommend the article for approval.
So moved.
Second.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, you have approved recommendation of Article 11 as presented. I am going to do Article 12 through 19 altogether, as long as nobody has any issues with any of those. Those are our budgetary ones with all of our departments. So do I have a recommendation to put Article 12 through 19 as presented on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to use Stan and Mary Ann. John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, I have your recommendation to place them on the warrant. Do I have a recommendation for recommending approval of 12 through 19?
So moved.
Second.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, you've recommended approval of Articles 12 through 19 as presented. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Select Persons to transfer from the town's unassigned fund balance an amount of $30,000 for the purpose of funding the property tax assistance ordinance and an amount not to exceed $388,666 for the purpose of reducing the total amount authorized to be raised by taxation for the fiscal year 2026. Do I have a recommendation to put that on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have approved placing Article 20 on the warrant. Do I have a motion to recommend approval of Article 20 on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, I have the board recommending approval of Article 20 on the warrant. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,425,060 for county taxes. Do I have a recommendation to place that article on the warrant?
So moved.
Seconded.
I second.
Discussion? John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, you have approved placing the article on the warrant, Article 20. Do I have a recommendation for Article 21 to approve recommending it?
So moved.
Second.
I would love to be able to say, no, I don't want to recommend it, but it doesn't really matter,
I know.
because if the townspeople vote it down, it's still the bill.
Yes.
We don't have any real control over it.
Yeah.
So, I just want to be clear about that I don't like
Yeah.
the
Begrudgingly,
increases in the
yes.
rate of increase. that the
Begrudgingly,
county
yes.
is
Could you
doing.
that in there.
say Board of Select Persons begrudgingly recommends?
Well,
Put an asterisk next to it.
I was gonna say, I also understand that, much like everybody else, they were impacted by the state not contributing to their budget, and that's why they saw such a raise, such a increase, I should say.
I think I'm the clearest speaker
Yeah,
here.
it's all the above, yeah.
And they're challenged with aging buildings
Yes.
and shortage of attorneys.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
Can y'all get any slower with the yeses on that one? You guys recommend approval of Article
Put an asterisk next to it.
Asterisk, yeah.
Article 22, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Select Persons to transfer from the town's special revenue account $563,294 for the purpose of reducing the total amount authorized to be raised by taxation for the fiscal year 2026. This amount represents the extra collected taxes based on the RSU 16 tax assessment that we had at fiscal year 25 tax commitment versus what the lower amount the townspeople approved at the later date for the RSU 16 budget. Does anybody recommend putting that on the warrant?
I recommend that we put it on the warrant.
Second,
Second.
any questions?
I just want to make a comment, actually. I would say you were highly commended by the cost-sharing committee and also by the school board last night for making it so clear and explaining it so well in the newsletter that came out to the town. They were exceedingly impressed and pleased.
Great, good to hear. John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, you have approved placing the article on the warrant. Do I have a recommendation for approval of the warrant
So
article?
moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Does
John?
that include the interest, or is that just the straight up
Nope,
surplus
it's just the
amount?
straight up amount. John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote of 5-0, you have approved placing, or recommended approval of that article. That concludes our warrant. Bring out the pens. No.
Thank you, everybody.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Nice job, everybody. Thank you, Nikki and Matt and the whole board. Move on to page 81, which is our payables.
Yeah, make a motion that we pay our bills for the fiscal year 2025 in the amount of $1,072,126.78.
Second.
John DeSantis.
Yes.
Stan Tetman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Mary Ann Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Albee.
Yes.
With a vote 5-0, you have approved the payables in the amount of $1,072,126.78.
Okay, moving on to any other business, John.
Please let there be spring. I got a lot of work to do. I need mud
We'll put
season.
that on the warrant.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the warrant. So moved.
I've got a question. There was an article a week ago, 10 days ago, that unfortunately, it was talk of a proposal to remove the tax exemption on municipal bonds.
Haven't heard anything on that.
I didn't think of asking Dan about that. Because in this article, they were recommending people get in touch with their legislators, or the feds, federal legislators, that not go through. Could you maybe check, it might have been in the MMA bulletin. Could you check with MMA for the next meeting, because they were recommending that we send a letter to them, because if that should go through, our interest costs on the $850,000 bond would probably increase maybe 2%, which would be really significant. And with everything going on in Washington, I think we gotta really be paying attention to stuff like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Sam?
No.
I just wanted to reiterate the importance for people to turn out on June 10th. I know we have other meetings to highlight this, but we just, approve the articles that are gonna be presented. Please take the time to dig into them and look at them. Come and ask questions of this board or to the people in the town office or whatever, if you have any questions on any one of the articles. And, I hope that you do support the RSU cost sharing formula and stuff. I think that that's a positive thing for the town and for the RSU. And that's all I have. Mary Ann?
I have just a question. Anyone else turn in papers for some of the open board positions?
We've got Jackson for Select Board, Jim Walker for Select Board. I think your father-in-law, Peter, for school, and I think that's it.
Did Jimmy turn in his papers?
He did.
'Cause I thought, I thought I read something that he had taken them out.
He takes it on, he turned them in the,
Okay, because only
last
Jackson
Friday.
can turn them, okay.
To clarify too, so since people turn in papers.
There are no
we're-
write-ins
No
counted.
write-in, so if you write a candidate in, it doesn't count.
Correct.
Mhm.
The only position that can have write-in candidates counted is for the budget committee because there was no one that ran for that position.
Oh.
Please do not write Mickey Mouse or any of those. I get tired of counting them at the end of the night.
Oh, wow.
He might be better than
So just leave it blank.
Yes.
How about that? How about Goofy?
If you don't have somebody serious, just leave it blank.
I'm gonna put Goofy in.
I just, on the news, they spoke of, I'm not exactly sure what the proposal is coming about, but I believe it's like the People's Initiative, and they're trying to collect 67,000 votes, 67,000 signatures to bring it before the legislature. If this initiative goes forward and it gets passed, it shuts down our government. And what it is they're saying that they reject the budget that the state has approved.
The supplemental budget.
Yes. So then, like, it would be a, it would shut down our state government. It would shut down schools.
It would go,
Schools wouldn't have
so,
any funding.
just to cap on that, so it doesn't shut it down. What it does is it goes to public vote at the November election,
Right.
and then the public would vote on whether to approve shutting down, approve rejecting this budget or to approve the budget.
Right.
They have a very short turnaround of time to get those petitions into us of about 4 days, so.
But,
Yeah.
but between the time that,
Yeah.
there's something about, and I apologize for not being as prepared as I should have been to speak on this, but between the time that it is, the petition gets submitted and it gets voted on, there's something about a pause and being able to do any spending.
The supplemental
Okay,
portion.
all right.
Really, it
Thank you.
resorts to the previous budget, something to that effect.
As far as I know, yes, we can look up more information and get a better answer next meeting.
I'll do my homework. I just was very concerned when I heard
You
that.
can contact your state representatives, Bruce Pickford and David Boyer, and
Yes,
tell them what you think.
yes.
Well, I'm sure they're happy to hear that. Nothing from me.
Thanks, Matt.
The only thing I have is just letting people know that a tax-acquired property at 707 McGuire Hill Road went up for sale by the town today. It is being, our realtor is Keller Williams. We are asking $50,000 for it. It has 2.5 acres. It does have a house on it, but the house is posted against occupancy. So you can either go to our Facebook page and get the information off from there, or you can go to Keller Williams' Facebook page or give them a call and they will be able to assist you further if you wish to put an offer in. Offers are being accepted until Monday at 5 p.m. and then we will review them Tuesday.
Monday, you said?
Yep.
Yeah, my daughter was looking at that.
And I'd just like to say Public Works did an amazing job out there on that property
Yeah.
for 8 hours
This
yesterday.
one, probably.
So how many truckloads was it?
Just to
9.
make sure you have great neighbors.
It was
So
9.
Nine,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
nine
They were-
dump truckloads
they were
to
the
the transfer
bucket
station. Yeah.
What?
So
That was just the outside.
Why didn't they just take the house too while they were at it?
demo permit.
Oh, great. That's a cost. I'm gonna show my daughter how to negotiate this one.
Alright. I'm all good.
So with that, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn. And we have plenty of signing
Make a
to do,
motion
so
that we
don't
adjourn.
want
Yes.
to go very
And I'll
far.
second that.
So moved.
Alright. John DeSantis.
That's me,
Stan
yes.
Tedman.
Yes.
Steve Robinson.
Yes.
Marion Hawks.
Yes.
Lisa Alvey.
Yes.
By a vote 5-0, you have approved adjourning the meeting. Have a good evening, everyone.
Has anyone ever